All right, get ready, because today we are diving deep, deep into Milan.
Ooh, Milan.
And nope, not for Fashion Week, though. I'm sure we'll touch on that. You guys have sent us a whole stack of stuff on Milan.
Yes, a lot.
Articles, FAQs, even some really interesting historical pieces.
If you want to know Milan inside and out.
Exactly. So we're ditching the tourist guides and digging into what makes this city tick. Where do we even start? You've got travel blogs, history, even a foodie guide in here.
It's true. It's true. It's like you've given us this puzzle and all the pieces are these different sides of Milan, right? But one thing that jumps out from all these different angles is this theme of contrasts. You see it everywhere in Milan.
Contrast, okay.
Yeah. You've got like ancient Roman ruins literally side by side with super modern architecture. It's wild.
Yeah, it's like history isn't just in the museums, it's built into the city itself.
Totally. And that's what makes it so fascinating.
Okay, so let's break down this city of contrasts idea. We got to start with the Duomo, right? I mean, that cathedral took almost 6 centuries to build.
Can you imagine generation after generation working on this one magnificent structure? Incredible. And it really speaks to that idea of Milan as mediolanum, the central place, right? This idea that's in one of the historical pieces you gave us.
Because it was such a strategic location.
Exactly. Always fought over, prized, since its Roman roots. It had to be grand, something that made a statement.
Like, we're Milan, we're here to stay.
Exactly. But then, on the other hand, you've got the vertical forest right there in Porta Nuova, skyscrapers covered in thousands of trees. How cool is that?
It's like we're not just preserving the past, we're integrating it with the future. And those skyscrapers, they're not just for show, are they? They actually help with air quality, noise pollution, all of that.
Exactly. That's what I mean about those elegant solutions. They find a way to make it beautiful and functional. Milan's got style. Speaking of style.
Oh, here we go. I was waiting for it. You know we can't talk about Milan without talking about the food, Rabe.
Of course not. It's not just fashion, although we'll get to that.
One article raved about the saffron risotto. Apparently, it's only truly authentic in Milan.
Ah, the saffron risotto. It's true. It's a source of local pride. And it makes sense, right? You've got the region's history, the rice patties, the saffron. It all comes together.
It's like a culinary love letter to Milan.
Exactly. And you know what else screams Milan? Aperitivo.
Oh, aperitivo. Tell me more. I've heard it's the birthplace of the aperitivo.
That's what they say. It's like happy hour, but with a distinctly Milanese twist. It's all about slowing down, enjoying good company, those little snacks alongside your drink. And the atmosphere during aperitivo hour, especially around the Navigli district, it's buzzing.
Okay, the Navigli district. Now we're talking hidden gems, right? You've got these canals, cobblestone streets. It sounds like a whole different side of Milan.
Absolutely. And it used to be the city's main port. Did you know that? Those canals were a huge trade route back in the day.
Wow, I had no idea. So it's gone from bustling port to trendy hangout spot.
Exactly. They've repurposed these historic canals, and now they're lined with bars, restaurants. It's a whole vibe, trust me.
I love that. It's like this constant evolution. And speaking of layers of history, we've got to talk about the Cimitero Monumentale.
The cemetery.
Yes, but not your average cemetery. This one is more like an open-air museum.
Okay, you've got my attention.
One article called it a haunting yet beautiful testament to Milan's artistic heritage.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Even in death, there's this appreciation for beauty, for artistry. You see it everywhere in Milan.
It's like they approach every aspect of life with that same sense of artistry.
Exactly. And that's something you can appreciate whether you're into fashion or history or just good food and drink. It's all part of the Milan experience.
It really is, everywhere you look in Milan. And one thing that kept coming up in these articles was how walkable Milan is.
Oh, absolutely. Milan is made for walking.
You don't want to be stuck in traffic, missing all those little details.
Exactly. To really get a feel for the city, you have to get lost in those little streets, stumble upon a hidden courtyard or a tiny cafe.
It's all about those unexpected discoveries.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, what are some must-visit neighborhoods beyond the usual tourist hotspots? Brera came up a lot.
Brera. Ah, Brera is great. Yeah, it's got this cool artsy vibe, really charming.
Like you could spend hours just wandering around.
Totally. You've got art galleries, little boutiques, vintage shops, all tucked away on these charming cobblestone streets.
And probably amazing people watching opportunities, too.
Oh, for sure. You'll see all kinds of characters in Brera. It's a good mix of locals and tourists, but it still feels very authentic.
I love that. Okay, so we got Brera for that bohemian vibe. Now, for something completely different, you mentioned Starbucks Reserve Roastery.
Right. Now, this isn't your average Starbucks. Okay?
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
This is like the Cadillac of Starbucks. one of only 6 in the entire world, and the only one in Europe.
Wow, okay. They must have pulled out all the stops for this one.
Oh, yeah. They roast the beans right there. You can see the whole process. They've got this beautiful open space, a cocktail bar, even a bakery on site.
It's an experience.
Exactly. It's about more than just grabbing a coffee, you know. It's about appreciating the craft, the ambiance.
Okay, but here's what gets me. Why Milan? Why a high-end Starbucks in a city already famous for its elegant cafes?
Good question. I think it speaks to Milan's ability to embrace new trends without losing its own identity. They take something familiar and give it that unique Milanese twist. You see that everywhere.
So it's not just a Starbucks. It's a metaphor for how Milan blends the global and the local. I like it. But let's get back to those hidden gems for a minute. We've covered the grand, the trendy. What about the places only locals seem to know about?
Okay, you have to check out the Church of San Maurizio al Monastero Maggiore. It's stunning.
Another church?
I know, but trust me on this one. It's often called the Sistine Chapel of Milan because of its frescoes. Really incredible.
And it's a hidden gem.
Yeah, it's surprising, right? Not many tourists know about it, so you can actually just wander in and take your time, soak it all in.
No crowds, just you and some amazing Renaissance art. I'm sold. Okay, we have to talk about the food one last time. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it.
Okay.
We've got the saffron risotto. What else should we be trying in Milan?
Oh, man, so much. You can't go wrong with the cotoletta alla Milanese. It's this perfectly crispy veal cutlet. So simple, but so good.
Okay, that's going on the list.
And if you've got a sweet tooth, you have to try panettone, especially if you're there around Christmas time.
The bread with the candied fruits?
Yes, it's a classic.
It's funny, as you're describing all this, I can practically taste it. These sources have really brought Milan to life.
That's the power of a good deep dive, right? It's like we're taking a sensory journey together.
And it really hits you how much there is to discover in Milan, beyond just the fashion. Although I'm not saying no to a little shopping.
Of course not.
From grand cathedrals and hidden churches to crispy veal cutlets and that fancy Starbucks, it's quite a range.
And somehow, it all works together, you know? That's what's so cool about Milan. It's both classic and cutting edge.
Yeah, it's like they figured out how to be modern and stylish without losing that sense of history and tradition.
A lot of the sources talked about how the Milanese are very aware of their city's identity. It's not an accident, this blend of old and new.
Like they're curating the experience of what it means to be in Milan.
Yeah. They've got that pride, but they're also not afraid to experiment, to push boundaries.
Which I think is a good lesson for all of us, right? No matter where we live.
Totally. Be open to new things, but don't forget where you came from.
And that's what we've tried to do with this deep dive, too. Give you a taste of what makes Milan so unique, beyond the usual tourist stuff.
We've given you the highlights, the must-sees, but also those little off-the-beaten-path places that give a city its character.
Because you can't fit all of Milan into one episode.
No way.
But hopefully, we've sparked your curiosity. Given you a starting point for your own explorations.
Exactly, because the best discoveries are often the ones you make yourself. So don't be afraid to get a little lost. Try something new, talk to the locals.
That's where the real magic happens. And on that note, we'll leave you with this thought. Picture yourself strolling through the Brera district, sun setting, maybe you duck into a cafe, order an espresso, just soak it all in. That's Milan. Go find your own Milan.